Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on the best Pan-African channel ever, Label Television. It is 12:30 exactly in Libreville, Gabon and Yaoundé, Cameroon, and 1:30 in Togo, in Lomé and in Accra, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Before we unfold this news bulletin, get the headlines given by Gauthier per channel.
Sudanese refugees who fled fighting in Darfur are returning back home from neighboring Central African Republic, where they have lived for the last 10 years. An innovation, Nigeria entrepreneur Blandi Opuzar makes what she calls birthday cake shops at her beauty store in Lagos.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once more welcome. First major stop in this newscast, the United States has reacted to political ongoings in the Democratic Republic of Congo, expressing concern at what it said was disproportionate use of force by security agencies. Get the story. The Assistant Secretary of State for Africa in the embassy in Kinshasa also expressed worry about the disruption of communication networks. Deeply concerned about disproportionate use of force in DRC with deaths and injuries to civilians, restrictions on peaceful assemblies, and disruption of communication networks. These actions are inconsistent with democratic norms, spirit of St. Sylvester Accord, and credible electoral process, a tweet read. The St. Sylvester Agreement is a political accord signed on December 31, 2016, under the auspices of the Catholic Church, the Commission Épiscopale Nationale du Congo, in short CENCO. Its main principles were for Kabila to step down and for elections to be held in 2017. Reports indicate that after 3 days of interruption, internet and SMS services were restored on Monday night. According to the Congolese Minister of Telecommunications, Emery Okonji, the government had cut services on the eve of protests according against President Joseph Kabila for state security reasons. Note that the influential Catholic Church and opposition groups on Sunday pushed ahead with banned demonstrations, which were met with a deadly crackdown by authorities. UN Chief Antonio Guterres has urged Kabila, who has been in power since 2001, to abide by an agreement to step down ahead of elections slated for later this year. As announced in the headlines, good news for the Sudanese refugees who fled fighting in Darfur, who are returning back home from neighboring Central African Republic, where they have lived for the last 10 years. The details in this element. Conflict in Darfur began in 2003 when mainly non-Arab tribes took up arms against Sudan's Arab-led government. Up to 300,000 people were killed and millions have been displaced. About 3,500 Darfuris fled into the Central African Republic in 2007. Now, 1,500 of them have been taken back home as part of the UNHCR voluntary repatriation exercise that started on December 12 last year. UNHCR says the security situation in Darfur has improved following a disarmament process and an ease in fighting after Sudan announced a short-term truces in Blue Nile and Kordofan regions. Also, Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir also extended a ceasefire ahead of a decision in October by the United States to lift long-standing trade sanctions against his country. Bashir is wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of orchestrating genocide in Darfur.
For UN Refugee Agency, voluntary repatriation is a sustainable, long-term solution. It is not the United Nations Refugee Agency that is forcing them to leave. They themselves came to us saying they wanted to leave.
Important to note, according to UN estimates, there are 650,000 Sudanese refugees living in Chad and South Sudan. While the security situation in Darfur is said to have improved, sporadic fighting remains a concern as there is no conclusive political agreement between armed groups. Next, we now talk about Kemi Seba, who lit the flame of a currency protest across most of the Francophone region in West Africa and has become the anti-CFA activist personality of 2017 African News. More details are reported by Georgina Mpiga.
Kemi Simba's full name, Stihilo Jill Robert Cappuccino, will be released on a technicality in Dakar, Senegal, due to law that punishes a person who destroys banknotes and not a banknote. Kemi burns a 5,000 CFA note in Senegal and was arrested and charged with destroying property that belonged to the Central Bank of West African States, in short, BCEAO. Young people in parts of West Africa, especially his native land, Benin, burn notes in support of Kemi Simba. The 35-year-old is the 2017 Personality of the Year with a percentage of 63 in a Twitter role, beating off 3 other competitors: West Africa political bloc ECOWAS, Kenyan Chief Justice David Maraga, and Ethiopian human rights advocate Yadni Brush Ningwisi, who ended with 20%, 8%, and 9% respectively.
Talking about currency, the new Oguia, the Mauritanian currency, which loses a zero compared to the old, came into circulation on Monday, forcing many banks to exceptionally open to customers on January 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch the story. From this 1st January 2018, 10 Ujiyas become an Ujiya. This measure, announced on the national holiday on November 28 by President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, is meant to help the Ujiya to resume its place in financial transactions, to protect the purchasing power of the citizen and reduce the amount of money in circulation. The old banknotes and coins will be redrawn according to a schedule established by the Central Bank of Mauritania, the BCM, starting with the largest ones, such as the 5,000 banknote, by the 31st January, the 2,000 and 1,000, respectively 1 and 2 months later, the smallest by June. The banking institutions have changed their software, checkbooks, and reconfigured their ATMs to bring them into compliance with the new Ujiya. In the streets, the people already served were examining the new polymer banknotes, turning and flipping them around, contemplating their bright colors and testing their vaunted solidity by the central bank. The BCM, in multiple press releases, says the removal of all banknotes and coins aims to protect the national currency against forgery and replace it with stronger, safer, more durable, and more innovative series. Note that even before the announcement of the release of the new banknotes, the Ujiya lost in recent months its value on the black market against the euro and the dollar, but the trend has worsened since due to an increase in the demand for foreign currency. In 2004, Mauritania replaced all banknotes in circulation since 1974. You got it in the headlines, ladies and gentlemen. A young Nigerian entrepreneur makes what she calls birthday cake soaps at her beauty store in Lagos, Nigeria. The details are reported by Georgina Mpiga.
Nigerian entrepreneur Blondie Opozo is the founder and chief executive of Bath Candy, a cosmetic line that makes food-inspired bath and body products like soaps, scrubs, polishes, scented oils, and some home fragments, among others. Blondie's products are all made by hand and purposed to look and smell like desserts. I think people love things that look good. So I mean, we are in Nigeria, so there are a lot of people doing natural products, and I just think the population, we are moving towards natural things. So it was a function of how to stand out, and these are the things I personally like, she said. Blondie, who studied business management and psychology in the United States, started her business in 2014. The beauty and skincare industry has been described as a fast-growing business in the country and is highly competitive. In 2016, the sector was valued at $620 million US, according to Euromonitor International, a global market intelligence publisher. The product carries the candy theme, but Bath Candy also markets itself through a sweet in-store experience that has set them apart from other local skincare companies.
Talking about innovation on the African continent, Joseph Awadako sits on a stool at one of the world's largest electronic waste dumps, watching polystyrene and insulation cables burn on the blackened ground. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this. The 21-year-old British-born Ghanaian, surveying the stretch of wasteland around him as dense plumes of smoke rise into the air. Awadako and his university friends have ambitious plans for the sprawling Agbobloshi dumping ground in Ghana's capital, Accra.
The future of Agbobloshi is that it will be confined to a waste dump. I think that it will be transformative. It will become a hub for design thinking and innovative ways, working hand in hand with the local populace there to kind of create value-added mechanisms and value-added products from the waste.
In January this year, he co-founded the non-profit Agbobloshine initiative, which encourages people working at the dump to turn waste into high-end furniture.
It's true that Agbobloshi is the result of negative externalities from, dumping by more developed European countries, but I chose to see the opportunity within the mess. I chose to see the opportunity to create and turn what has been called a dump into an opportunity.
The dump workers typically risk exposure to harmful fumes by burning obsolete and unwanted appliances such as mobile phones, computers, televisions, and plastics that are brought to Ghana from around the world.
If I see different way, this one is...
We are suffering here because the heat is there. The smoke too. It disturbs us. If we find good work, we will join it and leave this place.
After burning, the salvage and resell copper and other metals from these leftovers of modern consumer culture. Awadako's first upcycled work is a grandfather clock made from a galvanized car axle, aluminium, and part of a discarded wall clock. 2 high-end hotels in Accra are currently vying to buy the unusual timepiece, he said, and with such interest, he has plans to create more and expand operations. He hopes that his initiative will not only improve lives, but also the planet, as waste from the site is given another life. Cameroon's President Paul Biya has reiterated that his country will be ready to host the next African Cup of Nations AFCON slated for next year. Georgina Piga has the details and she tells us more in the story.
Speaking in his end of the year address to the nation, Paul Biya has put Cameroon's best foot forward. The indomitable Lions of Cameroon, known as the national team, are reigning African champions, having won the 5th trophy in February 2017 in Gabon. In August last year, Cameroon was not ready, generating an issue and a possible relocation of the tournament, whereas Cameroon is able to host 16 teams, as was the case with Gabon in 2017. The proposed expansion to 24 teams have been okayed by CAF at a symposium held in Morocco and is due to be started with the 2019 tournament. The Confederation of African Football in December 2017 expressed misgivings about Cameroon's preparedness to host the AFCON. CAF President Ahmed said they will not hesitate to strip Cameroon of the rights if they fail to meet important deadlines.
Still in sports, ladies and gentlemen, more than 20 years after losing a leg in a road accident, Mahmoud Taufik feels closer to realizing his dream of becoming a footballer. Gauthier Perchano recounts his story in the story.
The 28-year-old, who gained fame after a photograph of him jumping on a pitch celebrating Egypt's World Cup qualification went viral last year, is now captain of Egypt's first amputee football team. 25 players from different parts of the country gather twice a week to train on a pitch in Cairo, aiming to eventually become Egypt's first recognized professional amputee football team. Though complaining of limited access to playgrounds and pitches, the team expects this beautiful game to be extended to the disabled in Egypt. They want to establish a local federation which could regulate a domestic league for them. I started bringing the people in, and Coach Yursi, the team coach, called me to start training me on freestyle football. I told him I have another dream of becoming a real-life football player, not just a freestyle footballer who has skills, said team captain Mahmoud Ibrahim Tahfiq.
This newscast was produced by Mohamed Aj and Bill Mange. At the camera, you had Christian Mouswami. The entire staff of Label Television thank you for choosing our Pan-African channel, for watching you, and for informing you at 12:30 every day. Don't forget to stay tuned for the upcoming programs on Label Television. Thank you, goodbye, and have a wonderful day.